Hey everybody, we're going to do Genoa to jib swap as a demonstration. First thing I want to point out is we have Ariana tied to the dock facing north. There's not, you'll want to face into the wind, but today we've got swirling winds, so we just picked a direction that we thought would work. But generally you'll be alongside the dock so that you can get things off the boat easily. What I'm going to do to get started, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find the existing jib sheets, and you'll see that they have stopper knots on the ends of them. I'm going to remove those stopper knots so that when it comes time to switching the jib and the jib sheets, or the Genoa for the jib sheets, the knots don't get in the way. And then the next thing I'm going to do is look up and find the furler. Furler is labeled here and the jib halyard is labeled here. I need those two lines in order to be free in order to do this project. Let me get this knot out quickly. So if I run the furler line, I'm just going to make sure that this can be run completely freely without knots in it. And I'm going to take the jib halyard off of its, nearly off of its cam cleat, able to be run free as well. The last thing I know is that the sail cover, if it's still on, is going to catch the jib halyard as we lower it. So I'm going to be aware of that and be able to reach up and shake it loose. I could go loosen the sail cover right now, but we don't need to do that at this moment. Next step is to unfurl the Genoa so that we can get it down. And all we're going to do that as if we were sailing. So I'm going to go over to the furling line and the sheet. I'm going to ease the furling line from its cleat, and I'm going to cheat the Genoa out until it's actually flying. I'm going to let it be loose. I'm not going to put any tension on the sheet. And the next thing I need to do is get the Genoa down. So I'm going to go to the jib halyard, take it off of its cleat, and let the Genoa sit. The Genoa will come down with me pulling on it easily. And if I have this line eased, I can walk to the bow and do that work. I'm going to grab the middle of the sail. Pull the sail down to the deck. Now you see I kept my weight low and I straddled the sail so that I had a couple of points of contact and the sail didn't go in the water. Okay, good. If you're a heavier sailor, you have a go bag, and in your go bag you have a Leatherman or a pliers of some form. And I'm going to use that right now to take the shackles off, the lower shackle on the swivel and then the shackle at the tack at the drum down the bottom of the furler. And of course we don't want to lose these shackles, so I'm going to loosen the pin very carefully with my Leatherman, put my Leatherman in the pocket. I'm going to hold both ends, both pieces of the shackle, the ring and the pin. I'm going to put them back together and immediately stuff them in my pocket. And then I'll take my Leatherman back out and I'll do the same thing with the bottom shackle. And you'll notice that this is a different kind of shackle than you may have seen before. It's twisted, and it's twisted so that it gives a fair lead to the foot of the sail. But that also makes it expensive. So it's a good idea to be very careful to hold both the shackle and the pin as you undo this one. And I'll do the same thing that I did before. Once I have it out, I'm holding on to both pieces. I put them back together and I put them in my pocket. So we're gonna bundle up this whole sail and take it off the boat and put it on the dock. I've pulled the Genoa sheets out of the cam cleats aft so that I can just pull these forward and they'll come with the sail. If you have a crewmate in the cockpit, they can tackle that for you. And all I'm going to do is make sure I have the whole thing in two big hands and pull it off the boat, trying to not allow any of it go in the water. And we'll set it aside on the dock for flaking. Next step is to find the jib that we're going to use, and you will find it in the blue bag down below. This is the same bag that we're going to put the Genoa into when we're done with this project and we're ready to furl it. But I'm going to go forward with this jib now. And I'm going to drop it onto the deck and put the bag back in the cockpit so that we don't lose it. Now the jib rigs a little bit differently. Instead of connecting it directly to this forward twisted shackle that you saw the Genoa on, the jib is going to be tacked down with a tack line. And we do that because when we lift the tack off the deck a little bit, it shortens the halyard at the top of the rig, and it prevents twisting during furling and unfurling. So I'm going to go ahead and put this twisted shackle on, and I'm going to tighten it with my Leatherman. And then I'm going to make certain that the jib actually has a tack line that we can use to tie it down with, but I'm not going to do that next. The next thing I'm going to do instead is find the other shackle and the head of this sail. And if you look at the way I have it laid out on the deck, I can see the whole boat rope in front. There isn't a twist, in other words, in the sail that would prevent it from going up cleanly. Because I can see the whole boat rope, I know that this is going to be a clean set. And I'm also going to look up and make sure that the swivel hasn't twisted and that the halyard is not tied around the headstay when I go ahead and put the other shackle back on, again using two hands, one on the D section or the ring section and the other on the pin. And I'll tighten that up nicely and use my Leatherman to do a little tightening of the pin. It's just a minor little nudge and we're off and running. Now the last part of the process up here with the jib is that I need to get the bolt rope into a slot on the foil. And you can see that I've done that here. This is outside of the slot. This is the bolt rope in the slot. And whomever happens to be back in the cockpit can start to put a little tension on the jib halyard, and that will hold it in place as we raise the jib. So we're going to lift this jib up now. If there were two people here, the second person could be in the cockpit doing the work. And Teresa is here, but she's filming, so that's the way we're going to do this right now. So I'm going to go ahead and find the jib halyard again and begin to pull on it, and you'll see forward that the jib will set, and hopefully it will slide up through that track on the foil. It might need a hand from Teresa to hold that bolt rope in place, giving it a good entry into the foil. I'm going to cleat it down here and go forward again. The jib is still unfurled, but this gives me a good chance to retie the tack line to the twisted shackle. You can see that I've given it about 8 inches, and I did that by design on the halyard. What I'm going to do is run this line that has a bowline on it attached to the tack. I'm going to run the line through the shackle, then through the bowline and back down. And if I have sufficient line to do this, I'll give it one more turn and then take a couple of overhand knots. I actually like to do 3 here, not 2, because then I know it's going to be there, and there also isn't a long tail. And in fact, if you really want to get rid of the tail, you can put a 4th on. It won't hurt anything except the next person's time. And now we have a properly tacked jib. So I'll walk back into the cockpit, and as I do that, I'm going to find these 2 jib sheets. And if you read this week's jib sheet, you know where they should be led with the jib. For today, I'm going to bring them into the cockpit from between the forward and middle shrouds. And when I get down into the cockpit, I'm going to lead them to the new forward track on the boat. And I'll do that on both sides. The last step then, you guessed it, is to furl this jib, putting a little tension on the jib sheet while we do it so that it furls nicely and properly. And then I'll put my stopper knocks back on the jib, and we've done most of the work of this process. So here's our production manager, Teresa. Say hi. Teresa and I are going to flake this sail. We're each going to take the corner of the foot. Here you go. You can leave the rest of the sail as it is, because as we flake it, that will come out. In this case, I have the clue and Teresa has the tack, and we'll lay the foot down on the deck just like so. And then I'm gonna take my right hand and bring it up 2 feet, about to the dark blue stripes on these new Genoas, and I'm gonna carry the next 2 feet of the sail over the first to make a nice clean flake. And then we'll both shake out the creases as we move up. So 2 feet up from there. Up from there, and then the last 2 flakes are really easy to get like that. And now what I'm going to do, just to show you how to tie this up in a way that will make it really clean and simple for the next sailor, take 1 foot, fold it over, take another foot, fold it over, and continue to very tightly fold on top of the next flake until you get something that looks about the size of a large pillow. And then I'm going to take the jib sheets and I'm going to go just 1 turn around this pillow that we've made, a single turn, and I'm going to tie 1 looped overhand knot that's really easy to get out. And the last thing I'm going to do is take all these additional sheets and loosely coil them and place them underneath. And that way I have a really tight bundle that fits into the bag, and the next person only needs to pull out this batch of line, pull out the loop, and they're ready to go with the new Genoa. And we'll stuff this down below and our process is complete.